Good morning from India. How are you, my friends? So let me share with you something that I found on my email, a question by a physicist of another physicist. So the question is asked by a physicist, I don't know from where, but the answer is from a physicist in Israel, from the Israel Institute of Technology. So the question is as follows. The Andromeda galaxy is 2.537 million light years away. Does that mean we have no idea what is currently going on there and only know what happened 2.537 million years ago? That's the question. And the answer by Dmitry Rothstein from the Israel Institute of Technology is as follows. Let me read the answer, okay? The answer is yes and no. We do see Andromeda as it was 2.5 million years ago. But that doesn't mean that we have no idea what's going on right there. In fact, we are pretty sure that it hasn't changed much and would look very similar to what we see in the sky. This is because 2.5 million years is a blink of an eye, a blink of an eye. That's very important, a blink of an eye. I'll explain that in a moment for a galaxy. Sure, millions of stars probably died since then, and millions of others were born. So what you're seeing is the birth and death of stars in the moment. But for a galaxy of some trillion stars, about trillion stars, a galaxy of some trillion stars, which means uncountable trillions of planets, that's insignificant. About 99.999% of the stars we see still exist and haven't changed noticeably. If we really wanted to, we could even find the stars that have died. Those would typically be the brightest ones, easy to see and identify. So the brightest stars are the ones that have already died. Isn't that interesting? So what you see brightly has already died, has lots of implications. Those would typically be the brightest stars, easy to identify and see. The position of the stars, and in fact the galaxy as a whole, does change a bit over millions of years. Knowing where they were and in what direction they were moving, and we can know that, we can calculate their present coordinates. Of course, if you happen to have received a message from a human-like civilization in Andromeda, then we have no way of knowing what happens with it right now, even whether it still exists. But as long as we keep our attention on the grand scheme of things, 2.5 million years is a pretty predictable future. On a side note, the figure of 2.537 million 2.537 million is kind of wrong because it's too precise. First, no one knows this distance with such accuracy. And secondly, a precision of 1,000 light years doesn't make much sense since the galaxy itself is 200,000 light years across. It's like specifying the distance to the nearest city with a precision of 10 meters, and that's just overkill. Okay, now that you got the message here, I'm going to actually pull out something else that I jotted down for this discussion, and here it comes. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, it does. Okay, I'll share that with you in a moment. But from what I read is when you look at the night sky, you're looking at the past in the present. Just remember that. You're looking in the past, in the present. And what you're actually experiencing are sensations, sense perceptions, and interpretations of those perceptions in the present moment. And from that, because mathematics is also a way of conceptualizing distances and measurements and locations, from there you can also predict the future. So in the present is the past and the future in consciousness in the form of perceptual and cognitive interpretations of consciousness knowing itself. So consciousness knows itself through cognitive and perceptual experiences as all this, past, present, and future. Okay, so what about right now? You're looking at me, and by the time you experience this talk, it will be in the past, in your present. And now look at anything around you, even, just next to you. And it takes a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second to perceive that in consciousness, because it takes a fraction of a second to interpret current moment perceptions, which essentially are the vocabulary of sensations, 5 senses. And those in turn are modifications of awareness, knowing itself as that. The interpretation is also knowing itself as that. So now look around you, look at your own body, and look at anything, furniture, or any object around you. And what you're experiencing is its past. Even though it's a microsecond or a fraction of a second in the past, it's still the past. The same principle applies whether it's 2.5 million years ago or a fraction of a second ago. In other words, what you're experiencing right now is a ghost of memory, then projects itself through threads of desire to know the future, past, present. This is cosmic karma. And then there's personal karma, which is linked to cosmic karma, because we're all part of the matrix. Yatha pinde, tatha brahmande, as is the atom, so is the universe. As is the microcosm, so is the macrocosm. As is the human mind, so is the cosmic mind. Now, therefore, everything you see doesn't exist. Everything you see, everything you perceive, everything you cognize doesn't exist other than a ghost of memory or a thread of desire projecting itself as the future. But one can actually calculate that mathematically through a process in consciousness, particularly human consciousness, that we call mathematics. So now, what I'm going to show you here is a PDF that somebody sent me called Vishwa Guru Bharat, which means India is one of the greatest gurus of all time. And all these calendars of events and cognitions and scriptures from the past, including the history of science as known by the Vedic rishis, the precision of that science, also Vedic mathematics, which also translates into astrology, not astronomy, with relatively good precision, the magnificence of Indian architecture, and of course, the great scriptures, including Yajurved, Samved, Atharva Ved, and of course, Rig Veda. So what do these amazing texts reveal? They reveal that there was a very deep understanding of the cosmos as consciousness, Brahman and Brahmand. In the Rig Veda, a statement given by Maharishi Sayanacharya says, you traverse 22.202 yojanas in half a nimesha. And that is the basis of a deeper understanding of the speed of light. Yojana is about 9 miles, as in the Artha Shastra. And the measures of time defined in the Puranas include a day and night, 24 hours, Kala, which is called Muhurta, Kala, which is 24 to 30 hours, etc., etc., Kastha, Nimesha. A Nimesha is therefore equal to 0.213333 seconds. If you calculate its value and you extrapolate from that, you get to about 186,000 miles per second. So the ancients cognized that. They also cognized the distance between the earth and the sun. And you can find that in Hanuman Chalisa as the distance between the eye and between the sun and the earth, the sun and the earth. And then also they predicted, these great sages, that the light of the moon is actually a reflection of the light of the sun. They predicted eclipses based on Vedic mathematics. They predicted the gravitational force based on math, Vedic math, and the centripetal force between the sun and other planets. And also, with the help of bipolar forces, they predicted, the bipolar forces being Ashwins, you should imply telegraphic apparatus made of good conductor of electricity. There you are. So follow your dharma and all will be revealed to you. This is from ancient scriptures in the Vedic tradition. Maharishi Bodhanya, who was an Indian mathematician, even before pi was given its official name and the Pythagorean theorem was first used, Maharishi Bodhayana had already referred to it in his book, Bodhayana Sulba Sutra, and had theorems to predict all of this. In other words, it is actually as easy to predict the cosmos and its recycling and evolution through a deeper understanding of consciousness projecting past, present, and future in timeless now. And it's as accurate as any objective calculation that you come, because no matter what, you're using perceptual and cognitive processes to experience both the past and the future in timeless now. This is what the phrase Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande means. Also, this is what the phrase Aham Brahmasmi, I am the universe, means, or Tattvamasi, you are that, all this is that, means. In other words, the universe, right now, one of the current dilemmas in science is, what is the universe made of? That's the wrong question. Okay, the universe is not made of anything. The universe is consciousness, is consciousness. Brahman are the same thing. Brahman is Purusha, or pure consciousness, and Brahman is Prakriti, the appearance of pure consciousness as the universe, including the multiverse. So the universe is not made of anything. It is not even made of consciousness. It is consciousness appearing as that to human cognition and human perception. And if you deconstruct the process by which this happens, you can explore multiple universes, even metaverses. And this is going to be the future through augmented reality, immersive experiences, which are an extension of the virtual reality that we are already immersed in. And that virtual reality includes the avatar that goes by your name. It's part of the virtual reality. Who you are is beyond all these virtual expressions of the one infinite awareness that is differentiating into minds and bodies and universes. So awareness is one, minds are innumerable. Minds go with the bodies, and the bodies go with the worlds in which they project themselves. The consciousness projects itself as mind, intellect, ego, which then projects itself as body, which then projects itself as universe. But in reality, they're all modifications of the true self. And this is very liberating, at least to me. And if it is to you, then I'm happy.